Welcome back, everyone, to Astral Doorway. As many of you know, I spent several years part of a Gnostic group, and one of the things that were required of us was to learn and acquire one of my most favorite things to do, which is to acquire the power to project the astral body consciously. I'm going to show and explain one of the first and main techniques that I was introduced to in order to awaken this ability. And this technique involves a specific mantra. Now, there are more mantras related to astral projection, such as the one in my other episode called My Easy Step by Step Method for Astral Projection, which is on the screen now and which a lot of people had success with. The mantra I taught in that episode was intended to be used as you go to sleep, with the intent to trigger an astral projection experience the following night or just after you mantralize it. However, the one we're going to learn in this episode is a little different in terms of its approach. So, for this mantra, instead of using it as you go to sleep, it's meant to be used as a daily exercise to help awaken your inner astral abilities or powers gradually. It's like starting a new habit, such as eating healthily, going on a diet, a spiritual diet in this case, like taking a spiritual supplement. And the supplement, instead of a tablet, it's in the form of a spiritual exercise, which you allocate for a specific time every day. And doing this exercise that I'm going to teach you, after a few days, you'll usually see the results. So, this mantra is advised to be vocalized for 1 hour a day. And I'll explain the benefits of this mantra too, in terms of also activating specific energetic magnetic centers of the body. In other words, the chakras, or what is known as the chakras. I will give more dedicated and in depth explanations about each chakra on future episodes because, in reality, they are quite profound. Each and every chakra. I'm considering actually making a full playlist series just for this. But for now, this episode is specifically related to awakening the chakras in terms of astral travel combined with this very powerful mantra I'm about to talk about. Now, yes, there are even more astral projection mantras, and I will also talk about those as well. So, if you don't have success with what I'm going to talk about in this episode, don't worry, there are more. Just keep trying with other mantras and other techniques. But keep in mind, you shouldn't just try them half heartedly. You should make a decisive effort on one for a good period of time, devoted with conviction and steadfastness, at least for a few days or a week at minimum. And if you can find a peaceful time in your life, such as being on holiday or something like that, it would help a lot as well. Because as you all know, there are a lot of distractions and difficult challenges in our lives. So, this practice is especially for those who have not yet been able to unfold in the astral body. It was even said in the Gnostic group that those who haven't been able to do it yet simply don't have the power to do so. And therefore, they should acquire the power by mantralizing this mantra for 1 hour daily. So I'm going to explain this mantra, but first, let me tell you what it is and demonstrate it for you. And you'll see why after. It is such a powerful and profound mantra that if you really understand the science behind it, you can really come to enjoy committing to practicing this mantra. So the mantra is EGIPTO. It is spelt EGIPTO, literally, but actually it is pronounced EGIPTO. So the G is actually pronounced as H. This mantra has two main sections, which are hip and then toe. So hip, toe. Okay. Like Egypt, again, similar to the mantra Pharaon in the other episode, but Egypto is Egipto. This is to be vocalized out loud. It can be done mentally too, if you don't have privacy, but it's best to be done physically so that your physical body can benefit from the vibrations better. But if you can only do it mentally, that is fine. In my Gnostic group, it was always said that we should be doing spiritual practices in private, right? We don't need or we shouldn't want to look for people to look at us while doing spiritual practices, right? Some people go out in public and uh, pray in front of the streets to show others how devoted and religious and spiritual they are, but really the main spiritual merits that are gathered and our real growth is within, right? Within our own private sanctum where there are no concerns of other people. So, you know, if you're in a situation in your life where you can't say things out loud, doing them mentally is fine. But I'm sure with devotion, and if you really want to have your own private room or time where you can do this vocally, then I'm sure that that will manifest for you eventually in your physical life. So let's chant it. It goes he to. Please notice how it has two parts. The first part is eh. Notice the sudden stop with the p, the p at the end, hip. And the second part is like the hit of a gong. To. Again. He do. Take a breath after the hip part. One more time. He do. E I to. This is a very powerful mantra The letter E that sounds like eh, it generates the thyroid gland to vibrate. So that magnetic center that exists within the throat, the chakra Vishuddha, which is located there, begins to awaken and aliven with life force, with prana. And it gives the practitioner the ability to hear the spiritual worlds. Okay? In other words, clairaudience. The throat chakra is related to clairaudience. When this is activated, you can then hear the sounds that go beyond the physical, the music, the noise from the spiritual worlds, and the sounds from within yourself, and of course, the sounds from within the astral plane, which exists beyond the physical when we're awake and also when we're asleep. So that's the spiritual scientific significance of air in relation to the chakra of the throat. And the letter G, which sounds like okay, because you say air, yes, almost like a snake, right? But this is more like an exhale sigh, like that, okay? This sound awakens the magnetic center of the liver, the chakra that resides there in the liver. Remember that there are not just 7 main chakras, but many other subchakras in many areas of the body. And this EGIPTO mantra is to do with the awakening of all those other submagnetic centers. And in terms of the liver, it is considered in Gnosticism to be the foundation of the astral body, as the liver is what processes many of our emotions. Even science has relatively recently found that negative emotions like anger, irritation, and stress weakens the liver and can lead to long-term diseases and issues with the liver. So if the liver is healthy and the chakra that is connected there, uh, this seat of our emotions is supremely beneficial for our astral body. Remember, the astral body has been referred to for centuries by occultists as the emotional body. When you are in the astral plane, you will understand why the astral body is referred to as the emotional body. Because the environments there and the dimensions that we can visit are filled with emotion and emotional intelligence. Not intellectual, but emotional. Not instinctive, but emotional. It's quite funny, actually. I work with a lot of people, right? Helping people to astral project and giving advice. And I generally find that it's mostly women that are more intuitive towards the practice of astral projection because men are more commonly disconnected from their emotions. You have to get in touch with your emotional states from moment to moment. Understand your feelings, understand how you feel and why you feel the way you do. Talk about your emotions with other people if it helps. Really get in touch with your own nature and psychology, right? Because a lot of the time we need to understand not just our psychology, but our feelings about our own psychology too. And usually, for various reasons, women have a more natural capacity towards this. So that's the explanation for part of the mantra, which is to do with the chakra of the liver, our emotions, right? When we have an emotional outburst or we have been stressed, what do we do instinctively? We leave our place of work and everyone goes, right? It's instinctive. It's within us to sigh because we are releasing and processing our emotions. Okay. So that's the H, the G part of the mantra. For the next part afterwards, he, okay, the letter I that sounds like E, when we combine this with the sudden stop of the letter P at the end, so E, this develops the faculty of clairvoyance. It vibrates the chakras of the head, and the two main chakras, which are located in the centers of the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, which are Sahasrara and Ajna, the third eye and the crown. This was a very prominent vowel of many of the Gnostic practices and mantras in order to vibrate the third eye, which is to do with the sound of E. And so, after the sound of he, then we have a break, right? A little pause. And then we have the sound of to, which is T and then O. The letter T strikes on the letter O with power and vigor. And the letter O is intimately related with the chakra of the heart. And you will see throughout other mantras in various traditions, such as Om Mani Padme Hum or Om Masi Padme Hum, which is the more original way to say it, or just Om. All of those mantras are to do with the heart, the letter O. The letter O is intimately related with the chakra of the heart, the Anahata chakra. So when we strike the sound to, it vibrates this center intensely. And since now this chakra is vibrating in harmony with the chakras of the head and throat, the energies of our astral body and our consciousness allows us to comfortably leave our body eventually by processing our emotions combined with the powers of the pineal and pituitary gland and the throat as well. We start to open up our psychic powers while also cleansing ourselves spiritually and energetically and emotionally. Especially if you do this for 1 hour a day, it is a wonderful practice. And, since we are doing this for 1 hour a day, practicing it in a meditative and devoted way, meaning doing it in a peaceful way without thinking, right? When it comes to our sleep at night, we will also leave the body with ease, naturally, without thinking. In those moments, we will realize our hidden powers, our hidden abilities that lay dormant within us, and which we can't usually access because we're thinking too much. This is the wonderful ability of vocalizing mantras, to not just practice vocalizing the mantra, but practice surrendering our rational thought process, which is so attached to this material, modern, scientific thinking world, right? And so, when you eventually astral project, you will float away from your physical body with control and grace and full capacity over yourself. Why will you have better control? Because the powerful toll part of the mantra is to do with the heart. And the heart is a very important part of astral travel. The magnetic center of the heart is our driving force, the driving wheel. The heart is the center of our consciousness and willpower. The heart is where all our merits are accumulated. All of our spiritual efforts are strengthened and gathered in the heart. This is why the effort to transform ourselves radically, not just a little bit, is important. To create that spiritual friction which creates heat and fire in this heart center. That friction between our unconscious self and our conscious self. If there is no friction, no work on ourself, on our ego, then there is no fire in the heart because we are just living on autopilot mechanically. There is no fire of the soul controlling our lives. That's why spiritual practices are really beneficial. You know, if we are only using the faculties of our head without the heart, we're like a rocket ship without a driver. I was actually just in the astral plane the other day having an experience when I started to lose control of my astral body and to gain control again while I was flying from location to location. All I did was focus back on my heart center, and then I had full domain over my astral body again. So the heart must control the brain, not the other way around. You'll actually find scientific research on the fact that the heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends back to the heart. This is a very profound thing that science has found. You see, the heart influences the brain more than the brain can influence the heart. Meaning that if you are centered in the heart, you have found a very powerful tool and way of being in terms of controlling everything to do with our crazy, deluded, monkey, chaotic minds, right? The reason why we see so many spiritual adverts and tablets and all of this is because we just cannot control our mind. And the key is not found in the mind itself, in the brain. You cannot find the solution in the problem in that sense. The solution is found in the heart, in our other mini powerful brain. It is a brain, scientifically speaking, too, as you will find that there is research to show that the heart has something like 10,000 brain neurons as well, or 40,000. I can't remember. I will leave some links in the description below if you're interested in this scientific aspect. And so that is the explanation behind the tall part of the mantra. It is to ground all of these wonderful awakening, energetic occurrences of the throat and head centers into the heart so that we can really perceive and feel and intuit our own gradual awakening. Because if we don't have the heart, it is very hard to perceive this progression or feel this progression, especially emotionally. And so, you're invited to vocalize this mantra for 1 hour a day, formally. Find some time. It can be done at night, in the morning, in the middle of your sleep, would be really powerful for spontaneous astral projection experiences. Okay. It will help you to develop the necessary power to come in and out of the astral plane with your astral body, allowing you to leave your physical body at will during sleep. If you are committed, find the time, a relaxing place where you can be in private, light a candle, you can even say a prayer in a dark room. You can just pray to your internal self or God or gods or higher self to awaken your hidden senses, your internal father, internal mother. to awaken your hidden senses and to help you to learn how to use and consciously control your astral body while you sleep. You can say something like, "Oh, my internal God, I beg of you to awaken my consciousness within the astral plane. I ask of your guidance with my soul, with my heart, to help restore my internal powers so that I may unfold consciously in my astral body." And then, in the midst of your devotion and your aspiration, start chanting the mantra. Do this with devotion to a point where you have resigned to quote unquote trying. And instead, you are just doing it. You are enveloped with the practice without expectation, without tiredness, without stress, without effort, to a point of no thinking, complete internal silence. Let the mantra envelop you. Only then, in full surrender, do experiences start to bloom. And so, if you are doing this for 1 hour a day, you can actually start having astral projection experiences spontaneously without any formal practice, step by step method, trying very hard to stay awake or keep the mind awake or body asleep, or, all of those other techniques. This technique is just about committing to this 1 hour a day, of course, still trying to lead a pure and spiritual life. And your chances of having experiences at night are very high. So, if any of you decide to take on this practice, let me know how you're getting on. It's a really wonderful mantra, and I think you'll find wonderful effects in your daily waking life too, not just your experiences while you sleep, but you will feel the difference in yourself. You will find a deeper happiness that comes from committed spiritual practices, especially if you do this for an hour a day. So, thank you, everyone. Just before I go, I want to give a shout out to some new Patreons: Diana, Donovans, Disconnect the Matrix, Spicy Fairy, Zook, Raycon, and Mihaela, who pledged a custom amount. So, thank you all for the support. I'm currently in the process of moving countries. Again, once I've left Korea, I'll be releasing a lot of very special episodes and also different types of series that I've planned for a very long time that I know a lot of you will be very interested in. And so your support is really appreciated to help me keep going and giving this information in this very interesting time. And if you would like to support the channel too, please check the link in the description below. My name is Gene, and I'll see you on the next episode. Have fun and enjoy having a spiritual practice if you decide to commit to the mantra EGIPTO.